Hello everybody, welcome to this video. Today it is logo design day for the Luna Marea Yoga branding project, and as you can see I'm already getting started in this program that I've never used before, starting with pulling in some of the sketches that I had done a couple days earlier. For those of you who aren't familiar with Inkscape, it is basically a free open source program similar to Adobe Illustrator in that you can design vectors in them, which is really important for logo design. It does have its downside in terms of speed and performance, and based on my experience doing this for this particular logo design, I know that there are a lot of things that it can't do that I'm used to being able to do in Illustrator. So that's just a heads up. Also, the shortcut keys are completely different. So here I am in Inkscape. I figured out how to rotate the images and resize them, and now I get to start playing with some shapes. At first, it's not very obvious how the fill and stroke works, but if you look at the bottom of the screen, you can kind of see that there's like a bunch of these little tips on what you need to do. So in terms of like for all those colors, if you just select it, it changes the fill color. But if you hit the shift button and then select a color, it changes the stroke color. So that took a little while. I didn't notice that at first. And every time you kind of go over something, it gives that kind of a hint as to what you need to do. So I'm just playing with this sketch here, this particular sketch. It seemed like an easy one to start with. You know, I did the circles. Also the Pathfinder tool that I'm used to looking at in Illustrator. Well, you kind of really have to know what each of those icons does, because here there are no icons to help you. So, but I figured it out. And so there is a pen tool on the toolbar on that left side that I figured out how to use. And so now I'm just kind of going over some of these wavy lines that I have in my sketch. Now, when I first started doing this, I had that stroke color to blue because I thought it just might be easier to differentiate it from the sketch behind it. But then afterwards, I recolored it back to the black outline color or stroke color. Now again, I have never used Inkscape before. I had downloaded it but never opened it to see what it was about or how to use it. I haven't watched any tutorials on it, so I am totally just doing my best based on, you know, what my knowledge is of some of these tools and what those little hints are giving me at the bottom of the screen. So here I am. I realized that unlike Adobe Illustrator, you can't do that option and drag to make a copy of it, which is what I just tried doing when I dragged it over. But Inkscape does have this, I don't know if it's called a duplicate or a clone button up at the very top, that when whatever you have selected, you can make a copy of it in place, and it pastes it in place, and then you can move it around. So that's what I just finished doing. So once I had that one kind of concept kind of sorted out, I just moved on to a different one. And as you can see, me having trouble doing that perfect circle, it's because normally I'm used to holding the shift key to have it kind of evenly sized, but in Inkscape, you have to hit the control key instead, which really messes me up, but I did get it. So once again, just using the pen tool just to kind of draw out those wavy, curvy lines that I have in my sketch. So you'll kind of notice that both of these sketches that I have been working on already, the first one and then this one, they look pretty similar, and that's just because when I was looking for some inspiration in terms of design for this project, I was pretty drawn to a very illustration, kind of fine lines and stuff like that, which is not really what I tend to do when it comes to logos. My logos tend to be very simple, shapes and whatnot, very yeah, just very simple. So this is completely out of my comfort zone and whatnot, but I thought it was pretty fitting in terms of having to include all of her design wants and stuff like that, in terms of wanting that moon, wanting something that was very relaxing, wanting the ocean in it, and then just wanting something that referred to nature. So in the first version, there was nothing that referred to nature, but for this video, or for this project, I started doing that sketch as a way to just get to know Inkscape a little bit more. But that's why a lot of these sketches kind of look similar, is because when I was doing my research and inspiration on Pinterest, I was very much inspired by, I found some images of, or some stock images of almost like a drone shot of the shoreline or the waves coming in, and I really liked how those lines just had a bunch of like rippling lines that I really liked for this concept. I didn't want to go too simple because I also wanted to keep in mind that how she described her brand was a very traditional and mature type of brand, and I thought that going too simple might take away from that maturity. So I figured going with this type of sketch might be a better fit. So one thing about using this program is that if you're not used to using the pen tool, it kind of forces you to get really familiar with using it. In Illustrator, a lot of the things that I make, I use the pen tool a lot, but I also rely a lot on using or taking pre-made shapes and then kind of tweaking them to kind of fit whatever it is that I'm trying to go for. But in this program, I had a hard time kind of manipulating and transforming shapes, and I don't know if there's some kind of trick to it that I don't know. So a lot of the times it was just easier for me to take the pen tool and then just draw things out. So I mentioned at the very beginning that when it comes to using Inkscape, it can be a little bit slow and clunky, and I wasn't sure if it was maybe because of me doing the screen recording. So I decided to shut the screen recorder off for a little bit, and then I'm just recording my process with my phone just to see if there was a difference in speed. There was a little bit of a difference, but nothing super noticeable. It still will take a little bit of time when it's opening some of the kind of, I don't know, those little tabs with all of the attributes in it and stuff like that. It was still a little bit slow, so I'm kind of thinking it must just be the program. So as you can see, I've already moved on to a different concept that I had sketched out. What I was trying to go for in this version was almost like a mandala that was inspired by, you know, the leaves of nature as that outer kind of ring or that flowery kind of shape on the outside, and then on the inside I was gonna try doing that moon and the waves and whatnot. So here I am just trying to figure out how to place them, and then I had to do the details on the inside and played a little bit with the sizing of that circle in the middle. I know it doesn't look like a perfect circle because the camera is angled, but I swear it was. And in the end, it's probably one of my least favorite concepts that I came up with, but I wanted to try and recreate it just to get some more practice with Inkscape in. Doesn't really matter that I wasn't going to, or that I was kind of more drawn to one of those other concepts afterwards. So when I was doing this one, I did have a lot of problems with the align kind of tool in this program. I would have all my pieces selected and try to use that align center in the middle and stuff like that. And then afterwards, it still didn't seem aligned. So I don't know if I had too many pieces selected and in the end just had to do it kind of manually, but so I don't know if there's a trick there. And here I am just trying to see if there's a way to create a zigzag line like you can in Illustrator, but I didn't find it, so I just gave up and moved on to another concept. So this concept was kind of the last one that I decided to show the process of, and it's just because I realized that things were taking a really long time to kind of complete, and I didn't want this video to be super long. So in a bit you'll notice that I kind of just take a break, and then I just jump to some of the parts that I thought might be more interesting to watch, rather than me, you know, in this case, in this part, I could not figure out how to make a rectangle with rounded corners. Normally I will take, I don't know, I just couldn't figure it out, but I did in the end. There is a little function that on a rectangle that you can adjust to make the rounded corners. So this is where I kind of jumped a little bit in my design process. I had gotten my 3 concepts done, and here I am just exploring some options for typography and stuff like that. I'm not a huge fan. I don't know if there's another way for me to preview this, but I really don't like having to go through my long list of font options to choose one. So it took me a really long time to find some of these options. I didn't want it to be too simple of a font. I really like the idea of using a serif font just to kind of go with that more of a traditional feel. But I also really like that kind of a what do you call it? I guess it's like this fake serif, sans serif font, where it's like it's kind of mixing the two styles together. So I think that's why I have the Tenor Sans from Google Fonts, and I think there's a Times, there's some kind of a Times New Roman version without the serif on it as well that I came across. So, and then the Americana one, which is a wider font, more modern, but still kind of fit the style that I was looking for. Out of everything that I've done, this style might be something that I continue exploring, because I feel like there could be some other fonts that could work a little bit better, but for the sake of getting this video done, I just kind of worked with these options and played around. I couldn't find a way to change the capitalization other than going into it manually and then typing all of the words in as with capitals. So In Illustrator, you have the option to either do like small caps or all caps or something like that, but I could not find that option in this program, which was a little bit frustrating because I didn't really like having to go in and retype everything. But I wasn't sure if I wanted something that was title case or if I wanted something that was just all uppercase. Alright, so these are the 3 designs that I ended up with as logo options for the Luna Marea Yoga brand identity project. As you can see, they are looking a little bit similar, and it's only because that was the inspiration, or that was the kind of look that I was going for, and I'm a little bit on a time crunch when it comes to doing these videos. So I am drawn to a couple of them more than others, and I'm just numbering them just in case you want to write down in the comments what your favorite concept is out of these 3. I think if anything, if I do anything, it's going to be kind of playing around a little bit more with some font options for some of these, just to see if some other ones look better. But that is it for today, and I will see you in next week's video when we kind of build out the color palette. So I hope you have a great day, and again, if you are kind of following along and doing your own design version for this brand identity concept, please feel free to upload them to Instagram and tag me at ReikoMade, just so I can see what you're coming up with as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in next week's video.